All right, today we're opening the door on one of the darkest and honestly one of the most meticulously engineered horror stories in all of American history. We're talking about the tale of H. Holmes and the hotel he literally built for murder. I mean, think about that sentence. He built a hotel specifically designed to kill people. It sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, but it's terrifyingly real. Right in the heart of a booming turn-of-the-century Chicago, one man constructed this massive building with a single monstrous purpose. So, before we even get into the man himself, we first have to understand his creation. Because this wasn't just a building. No way. It was a finely tuned instrument of death. I mean, just look at this stuff. Every single detail of this building was engineered for pure evil. Imagine this. You check into a hotel room, but the lock is on the outside. You can't lock it from the inside. The gas lamps in your room? Yeah, they were connected to pipes that Holmes could control from a hidden panel in his office. He could literally just turn a valve and asphyxiate his guests whenever he wanted. And that's not all. There were trapdoors hidden in floors, secret staircases going nowhere, and chutes in the walls that dropped straight down to a basement. A workshop of horrors, really. Down there, a human-sized kiln, vats of acid, and a lime pit for dissolving any and all evidence. You see, this wasn't about random violence. Not at all. It was cold, it was calculated, and it was almost industrial in its efficiency. He hadn't just built a hotel. He had built a machine. So the question is, who on earth could even conceive of a place like this? Well, let's meet the man behind the monster. Okay, so first things first. His name wasn't even H. Holmes. He was born Herman Webster Mudgett, and by all accounts, he was a brilliant, handsome guy who studied medicine. But behind that super respectable facade was a deeply charismatic psychopath who used every bit of his intelligence to manipulate, to swindle, and ultimately to destroy people. And his path to becoming a killer? It was so calculated. This wasn't some sudden snap. Even back in medical school, he was already running schemes, stealing cadavers to stage fake accidents for insurance payouts. Then, by 1885, he just up and abandons his wife and child, moves to Chicago, and completely reinvents himself as H. Holmes. And just 3 years after that, he breaks ground on the building that would eventually be known as the Murder Castle.
Okay, so you've got a killer and you've got his murder machine. That's one thing. But what do you need next? A steady supply of victims. Specifically, victims who wouldn't be missed right away. And as it turns out, in 1893, the entire world unknowingly provided him with the perfect hunting ground.
27 million. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how many people flooded into Chicago for the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition. I mean, the city was a chaotic, overwhelming sea of anonymous faces. It was the absolute perfect environment for someone to just, disappear. And H. Holmes was right there, waiting. He used all of his charm, his status as a doctor and a businessman, to lure in his victims. He specifically targeted young women, many of them new to the city, there for the fair. He'd offer them jobs or a place to stay. And the key was, these were people with no local connections, no one who would raise an alarm if they suddenly went silent. And we have to remember, these weren't just statistics. These were real people with lives and families. People like Julia Connor and her little daughter Pearl, or Emmeline Seagrand, who was his stenographer. She wrote these excited letters home about her new job. And then the letters just stopped. Forever. Or the sisters Minnie and Anna Williams. They vanished right after Minnie trusted Holmes so completely that she signed her entire inheritance over to him. But for all his meticulous, careful planning, in the end, it was good old-fashioned greed and just plain sloppiness that brought his whole horrific enterprise crashing down. And this last act, it was maybe his most depraved of all. So here's what happens. He conspires with an associate, a guy named Benjamin Peitzel, to fake a death for insurance money. But at the last minute, Holmes just decides, you know what, it's easier to just murder him for real, so he does. But then, and this is just breathtakingly cruel, he goes to Peitzel's wife and convinces her that her husband is just in hiding. He takes custody of 3 of their children, promising to reunite them. And then he murders them, one by one, as he travels across multiple states. And here's the biggest irony of the whole thing. After building a literal castle of horrors, after committing who knows how many murders, he was finally caught. Not for any of that, but for a simple insurance scam. That was the one loose thread that allowed investigators to start pulling and unravel his entire monstrous life. So, once he was in custody, authorities finally got a warrant to search the building. And what they found? Well, it confirmed the true scale of his evil, but it also left behind this enduring legacy of mystery. Down in the castle's basement, they found the physical proof. The kiln was there, the acid vats, the lime pit, fragments of human bone. But then, it's the small, heartbreaking details that just make it so real. They found a child's tiny gold shoe chain in a pile of ash, and a tuft of women's hair clogging a chimney flue. So, how many people did he actually kill? That's the big question, right? Well, the answer is we really don't know, and a big part of that is Holmes's own unreliability. He confessed to 27 murders, but his confession was a total performance. He even named people who were still alive. He was clearly trying to craft his own dark legend. Investigators could only officially confirm 9 murders, but the real total, it's almost certainly much, much higher, and now it's lost forever. Holmes was hanged on May 7th, 1896, and his final request? It was bizarre, but also really telling. He asked to be buried in a coffin that was then filled with cement. Think about that. The man who dismembered, dissolved, and incinerated so many other human bodies was absolutely terrified that someone might do the same to him. The murder castle itself, it burned down not long after, under pretty mysterious circumstances, and was eventually torn down. Today, there's just a post office on that spot. And so we're left with this chilling question. The building is gone. The records are a mess. How many secrets are still buried right there, under all that concrete?
True Files Archive.